What is up, guys? KFC back here with a quick attack strategy video, I guess you could call it. We're going to be reviewing some attacks live over in TGF Rising, trying to get everyone to develop and sort of fine-tune their attacks. And so I thought maybe putting out a 15 or so minute video will help do that. As you can see, TGF Rising in a war here against a clan from Vietnam. We're going to be reviewing some attacks with the purpose around development. I haven't watched a lot of these attacks, so I'm just going to be kind of looking at what could have been improved. So let's go ahead and start here with Jono. Hitting base looks like, what was that, 2? So a Town Hall 11, 2-star attempt. Let's kind of go ahead and take a look at it. Sort of see what he does. He is bringing sort of your traditional AQ walk Valk rush here. So kind of looking at this base, things that you always want to look for is you always want to look for, obviously, where is the AQ position relative to the Town Hall, because that's going to change the sort of the angle that you approach the base, because the AQ will sort of attract Valkyries to her. So if you, for example, if you were to come from up here, by the time that they are under rage and sort of in the core, the AQ might sort of pull them. So we're going to go ahead and see sort of what Jono does here. I'm not sure if this was fresh or not. Looking at the base, like I said, we're looking to get into the core. So if you're looking for your AQ walk, sweepers are also something important to notice. They're going at the core, so no problems there. If it were me, I would probably start somewhere over here, walk down here, and then sort of once I got to this area, I would put a jump on this juncture, and that would allow the golem and the bowlers to sort of go in, clear out both of these compartments here, and then the Valk rush could sort of go up the gut here. That's sort of my first reaction. So let's go ahead and see what Jono does here with his AQ. Looks like he's going to start on the top here. 2 baby dragons right off the top. Don't need 2. You only really need 1. The purpose is just to create a funnel. And there you see the reason why they're sort of not needed now. They're just going to kind of get picked off. So if you had dropped 1 baby dragon there on that building, it still would have gotten the other one. And so that 1 building here is not worth the extra 10 space. So here comes the AQ. So far, so good. You're going to want to get that rage down quick. There it goes. So no problems so far. Sort of looking at these 2 expos here will be a problem here in a moment. Boom, there they are. Rage spell is going to run out here soon, so another rage should be going down relatively quick. Okay, the AQ ability with skeletons, usually not ideal. Usually save the AQ ability for after all of your rages. 3 pieces of point defense on the queen. Should see another rage here soon. Goes down too late and the queen dies. Okay, so let's go ahead and back up and sort of rewatch that in terms of where would have been sort of the ideal place to drop it. So one of the biggest mistakes with Town Hall 10 on Town Hall 11 2-star attempts is your queen dying. Keep in mind that you're not going for 3, so it's not a huge concern if you drop a rage spell a little bit early. Like I said, in general, if you devote 2 rages to your queen, you want to make sure that the ability is the 3rd thing that you sort of pop. So right here, the rage spell is out, and we've got 1, 2, 3. Actually, I'm not sure if this arch tower is not locked in, but these 2 expos and this Arch Tower are. Now, given that you're not going to be able to touch either Expo or that Arch Tower anytime soon, the general rule of thumb is just to throw it down right now at the 1 minute and 16-second mark. This would sort of be like the ideal time to drop it. A rage spell lasts 15 seconds. 99 times out of 100, the queen is not going to take advantage of the rage spell for 15 seconds. So you're just trying to keep her alive. What you don't want to do is sort of take a Town Hall 9 approach and just let her get down for as low as she can, because then that happens. So the rage spell about 5 seconds late there, and ultimately, if you look at the ultimate position of the rage spell where it was dropped, could have dropped it there 6 seconds ago, gotten the extra added effects, and she still would have been alive. So that's probably going to color the rest of this attack. Queen going down is always tough, but you can see sort of what he was going for. If she had been alive, all of these structures would have gone down. You could have easily seen this compartment getting taken out by golems and bowlers, and then there goes the Valks there, and they're just not going to quite be able to make it. So good try there. The lesson, I guess, that I would sort of preach is when you're doing a Town Hall 10 on a Town Hall 11 attack and you're doing an AQ walk, you always are a little bit more liberal with your rages. Get them down early rather than later, and use the ability last. So those would be the 2 things that I would sort of teach. Earlier rage spell, save the ability. Let's go ahead and take a look here at, let's see, what can I take a look at here? Let's go ahead and look at Ettertreg's attack on this here base. So still going for a 2-star attempt. He's going to be taking a Bowler Witch with sort of a Valk dive. So again, there's not a perfect 10 on 11 composition. Ultimately, this could work on this base. I could see some sort of a scenario where you sort of break into a corner, thin out the sort of middle there, and just hope that enough buildings are taken off. Good things to notice about the composition is that there are 4 archers, because there are some buildings that can just be picked off sort of with archers, so you always want to make sure you take all the free percentage on 11s that you can. Excuse me for the lag on the internet. Don't know why that's happening. Let's go ahead and watch Edertreg here and see sort of where he breaks in. As you can see, starting off with an archer, it looks like over, I don't know where, nope, didn't. I'm not sure how that building got damaged. Either way, so he's going to come in from a corner with 1 golem and a few bowlers, and let's see where that other golem goes. So the first thing, so that is sort of like a, I don't know what you call it, like a dip, or sort of spreading out your golems is sort of like what you do when it's a fair fight. Just analyzing sort of what he got. Let's just pause it here. So over here, it looks like there were a few witches dropped, a few bowlers, a golem, and some wall breakers. So that's about, I don't know, maybe 80 troop space worth of stuff. And he got a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 buildings. Probably not worth a quarter, actually a third of your composition to take that out. So it looks like the goal, though, was to take out this corner up here, and then it looks like it's going to be to take out this corner down here, and then do some sort of a rush sort of up the middle here. So it's just a slow developing attack so far. King goes down. There's the Rage. Everything's sort of going down, and it looks like everything's just going to sort of get melted here in the core. A couple of late Valkyries that didn't quite make it to the core. Not sure if it would have changed the outcome of the attack. But if you look at sort of what's left sort of in his comp down there, obviously nothing to sort of take it out. Those 4 archers, I would just like to see at some point go down on these free buildings just to make sure that we're taking all the buildings out that we can. That was a correct building there. That is another correct building over there. Obviously, the Eagle Artillery is going to make it so that they get taken out. But ultimately, attack should have fallen just a little bit short. That corner hut there is going to be left up. So just ways to sort of refine that attack. I'm going to show you one of my attacks on that same base and sort of what I was able to do with it and some mistakes that I made as well. So I attacked the same base that we just watched, and I brought sort of that garden variety AQ walk that we talked about earlier. So I'm going to start the queen down here. The purpose of this attack was actually for the queen to go this direction, and you're going to see me sort of have to figure out what happens if she goes the other way. It is a symmetrical base, so there wasn't a ton that I needed to sort of prepare for. The theory was if I went this way, I would take out the AQ along the way so that my stuff wouldn't get pulled. Early rage spell there when she was about half health. Everything is sort of locked onto this point. I have my finger at this point on another rage spell just in case I were to need it. But as she sort of makes her way around here, I noticed that there's only 2 pieces of point defense on her. She's staying relatively healthy, so at this point I kind of figure I'm not going to need it. But given that I'm not really planning to start another thing until the golem, I probably still have my finger on it. Gets a little bit low there because of the air sweeper. And so right here you'll see me drop sort of another rage spell just to kind of speed her up. Only 1 piece of point defense on her, so you can see sort of the subtle difference between the one attack from Jono earlier where there were 3 pieces of point defense versus mine where there were always a minimum of 2. And so I was playing it a little bit. In that case, getting it down to half health and sort of being mindful is a little bit different. So down sort of goes everything here. So now I'm going to sort of create my funnel over in this direction. Golem goes down, wall breakers go in and open it up. At this point, it's pretty much going to be a straight core dive. This sort of conjunction right here makes it so that I can not have to worry about my Valks straying at all. They're easily going to go in into the base here. You'll see shortly a rage spell goes down nice and early. And then the free spell basically takes advantage of the fact that the stuff will be raged on the outside of this rage spell. Everything sort of goes in here. Really no problem taking out the Town Hall at this point. Both of the 2 stars already secured. And the whole purpose of the rest of this raid is just to make sure that I soak up as much percentage as possible. You'll see a critical mistake here that I make with regards to my Archer Queen. Again, trying to be too fancy on Town Hall 11 attacks is never sort of the right approach. You always want to make sure that you get all of your abilities off correctly. And so right here, I'm trying to time my AQ ability so that I'm going to be able to get as many defenses as possible after she goes down. And unfortunately, she goes down before I even hit the ability. And that will sort of be the end of that raid. So that's just sort of a way to look at what Ettertreg did, what could have gone better, the difference between 43% 0-star and a 70% 2-star. Not a ton there. So let's go look at some Town Hall 9 attacks here. I've got a few more minutes left before I have to head out. Let's look at Silos 47% 0 on 10. Let me make sure it's okay. So this is a Town Hall 9 that needs to go down because it's very easy to sort of look at this base and see that there's just not a lot that could trip you up, especially with a hog army. I don't really even know where the bombs would be. I mean, most of these are probably going to be Tesla locations anyway, which means that the bombs would be on the outside. So let's go ahead and see sort of what happens. But this would be a good example of a base that I would call not failable, like in terms of what would be needed sort of in a higher level clan. Can't devote more than one attack to this base, given that there's a free queen over here. Don't even need a sort of cold-blooded entry. You could easily just trade off your king for your queen, go and get the CC, and then at that point, it's a relatively straightforward hog attack. So the first thing that I would say is that the Valkyries are confusing for the base, just in terms of what would be the best composition to bring for this base. Valkyries here is difficult because it's hard to argue against 28, 29 hogs with more heals, sort of in that case, and a lighter kill squad. So that might be the reason that it did not go down. So let's go ahead and see where the start is here. So we have a golem going in over at the queen, which is, like I said, it's fine. I probably would have just traded the king, but more than welcome to get more value there. Nice wall breakers. Queen is down. Here comes the CC, so we should be seeing a poison pretty soon. There goes the poison. Bowlers trailing in behind. This all looks decent so far. The king looks like it's going to get a little roasted by the balloon and the dragon. King is down. I don't think the ability came out. So here comes the Valkyries. And there you see the bowlers getting picked off by bombs on the outside. That is my internet? Yes, that is my internet slowing down. I apologize again. I just got the internet connection, so I'm going to wait, see if it comes back. And if not, I will just sort of end the video prematurely. This is why I never became a YouTube sensation right here. Okay, there we go. So we're back. So the king went down, I believe, before the ability went. The Valkyries are sort of off on their own in La La Land. But at this point, here come the hogs. A couple of them got trickled in there and hit a bomb instantly. So I just have to be mindful of that. And that's going to kind of instantly screw up everything. So the one outside bomb there looks to be sort of what derails sort of the attack. And also, I would advise against when everything is being equal, if you have an option between starting on the side that doesn't have the king versus starting on the side that does have the king, I would not start on the side that does have the king. And unfortunately, it looks like every single place where he decided to surgical hog sort of had a bomb. And so there's an easy way around that. If you look at sort of the, let's back out of this, right, and sort of figure out the army composition. So what I would look for in terms of a higher level attack using relatively the same composition, like I said, I would prefer not to have Valkyries for the reasons that I've already talked. They were basically naked Valkyries by the time they got in there. But if you did want to use some sort of a hog army, you look at this base and you scout it, and you realize that there probably aren't going to be bombs inside the base. They're probably all going to be Teslas, which they were. What you can do is remove one of the wizards. So if you look at the troop composition down there at the bottom, there are 6 wizards in this troop composition. Remove one, which gives you 5 wizards, and then just replace them with 4 barbarians. And what that will allow you to do is try and pick the spots in which you would deploy hogs, right? So there were certain spots that looked like right here, there looked to be a spot that he was trying to turn onto that cannon. You could easily place a barbarian right in between the barrack and the gold mine to see, hey, is there a bomb here? Same thing over here. If the plan was to target this cannon with some hogs, you can drop a barbarian in between this dark elixir storage in this army camp and test it. If the goal was to maybe do another one over here, I'm not sure if there was one, but you could drop a barb there. So testing out barbs to make sure that there are not giant bombs just in the location where you plan on dropping them could save yourself a lot of trouble sort of in the long run. All right, so let's do one more. I'm not sure if, let's see, who ended up taking out 10? Has 10 been taken out yet? 10 has not been taken out yet, so we can't show what would have been on that base. Let's look at So I want to show one without two heroes. So let's do Whoopin' Y'all on base 9 and see if that is a Town Hall 9. All right, so that's a Town Hall 9 as well. So I have a similar comment that I would have with the attack that we just saw, and so maybe that'll be sort of the Town Hall 9 sort of tips and tricks, I guess, for this video. You could argue that this base could be good for Valks because I'm assuming he's going to quad quake right here, and that's going to basically open up the whole base. So this could just be player preference, but if you look at the base, there's really nowhere for bombs to be other than in this area, which is where the queen is anyway. So some sort of a generic entry from this angle will take care of all the bomb spots, take care of the queen, and take care of the CC. So I would argue that the troops brought for this attack were not ideal. Also, 16 wizards is never correct. Anything above 7 at the Town Hall 9 level, I would argue, is wrong. So it's way too many wizards to be bringing on the attack, and not enough for a kill squad. I think one of the philosophies that I try and teach sort of in any clan that I'm running is that you always want to bring the attack strategy that's best suited for the base. So the philosophy is you bring whatever troops you would bring if your life was on the line. In this base, it's hard to argue that anything other than mass hogs would sort of be the best sort of attack style for the base. You have an outside bomb tower, and all of the bomb locations can be taken out with a generic entry. So if you prefer to attack a certain way, those are usually best for sort of friendly challenges, in my opinion. So let's go ahead and see where the quad quake does come down here. So it's actually going to be in a different area than I thought. He's still going to open it up. It's just going to make his entry a little awkward because obviously now it's going to kind of split left and split right and split center. So everything's going to kind of deviate. So kind of an old-fashioned sort of traditional CC pull, because he doesn't have the poison. Queen goes down, a couple of troops go down. You want to use barbs to distract there. You don't want to use wizards, and that's the exact reason why. So let's go ahead and rewind, and this will be the final point of the video. Let's go here. Keep going to the enemy team. Whoopin' y'all, base 8. So if you want to do some sort of a quad quake, I don't agree with it for this base, but if you do want to do it, traditional CC pull is not the worst idea in the world. But if you do, so everything is correct to this point for a traditional CC pull. Archer brings everything over here. The Archer Queen going down is also fine. The first mistake that is made is right there when the wizard goes down. That needs to be a barbarian so that the dragon gets focused on to the barbarian, and sort of, so you're thinking about in terms of troop space, you're basically using 4 troop space right here, and if you look at it, that wizard never gets off a shot before it goes down, right? And so you could get 4 barbs worth of sort of distracting a dragon out for the same cost of that one wizard, which ultimately didn't do anything, and ultimately what ends up happening, the queen is locked on here, but unfortunately she's not going to quite be able to take out the dragon and the balloons at the same time. So boom, boom, and she's dead. So ultimately, if you want to use a trick sort of like that, you're going to want to make sure that barbarians go down in front, and the queen sort of picks everything off on the side. So losing the queen there sucks, and that's basically, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's not the worst trade-off in the world. So let's sort of see. The attack does start at the bottom there. One thing I can say, right, is that whereas, remember with Ettertreg earlier, I didn't think that it was appropriate for him to spread his golems because he was doing a Town Hall 10 on a Town Hall 11 raid. In this case, with Whoopin' Y'all, it was almost the opposite. These are too closely together, so they're not really getting anything. Now, that being said, there's not any defenses over here, but I still would have spread them out a little bit more so they're not on top of each other, because I'm imagining now what might be an issue depending on it. We'll watch it and see what happens, is that the wall breakers might be a problem. They were not, so they just go in there. So good job there. But I could, if you also look at this now, the second thing that I'm noticing is the wizards aren't down yet, right? So if the goal, let's rewind again and sort of rewatch it sort of from the beginning in terms of where I think it would have been appropriate to sort of drop them. Let's see, base 9 here. So when the golems go down, they have a short life. The purpose of a golem is to always sort of run out of health and get full tanking ability. So every single second that they're down, the troops behind them are really what need to be doing the work, because obviously that's why they're called tanks. So let's go down here. So those golems sort of get dropped. Again, I apologize for the internet. It's being slow again, so I will once again sort of wait for it to catch up.